Next off, we've been talking a lot about how you can work with functions and how they are customized for you, but what if you could customize the functions for yourself? So let's say you could create your own functions. Well, yeah, you can. So despite all the functions provided by Excel, you may need one that you just don't see offered. Excel lets you create your own functions by using VBA programming code. Your functions show up in the Insert Function dialog box. Okay, I know what you're thinking, me writing VBA code? No way. It's true, this is not for everyone, but nonetheless, there is a short and sweet example. If you can conquer this, then you may want to find out more about programming VBA. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be churning out sophisticated functions of your own. Make sure you are working in a macro-enabled workbook, one of Excel file types. So, follow along to create the custom functions. First off, you click Alt F11, and after clicking it, this pops out. I will show it to you because I had to customize the size of the site, otherwise it just pops up as a full screen. So this gets you to the VBA editor. VBA is actually Visual Basic for Applications. This is a programming language which is used in Microsoft Excel. We have a special tour around this. We actually have an entire training course for VBA programming. So if you're interested, go and check it out. But let's go on. Just a few words about VBA programming so we will know what it actually is and know that there's stuff like this in Excel. So let's choose Insert. Let's choose Insert Module in the editor. And you can see here a code window popping out. So you have an empty code module setting in front of you. Now it's time to create your very own function. So I will write in a function probably you could use. So public. I will not explain anything here because, as I said, this is more even than advanced, but still you want to know that you can do stuff like this. What I'm doing right now is entering basic code. This will be a very simple function, and you will see what it does right here. It simply adds two numbers. So number 1 plus number 2. Yeah, that's basically it. That's all. Next off, what we do is save. To save the file, with this feature, click No, and then choose the macro enable file type. Oh yeah. So see, what happened here is we did not enable a macro file type. So let's go and do it right now. How to check if your file is macro enabled? Well, you have the XLSX right now. So if we save the file as desktop, and what you want to do right now is check out the different types of Excel you have. So we will overwrite it with Excel macro enabled workbooks, which is XLSM, and save it. Great, and now we should have no more problems. Great, it's saved. So this function will be named as add. And okay, let's see if we can find it. Equals add. Great, so you can see the function actually being here. Now let's see if the function will work. Insert it again, add, double click it. I'll show you one more nifty trick you might need to use with functions or whatever. If you want to click in and mark two separate operators or two separate cells, and you want them to be marked as area number 1, area number 2, with your correct separator, which for me is the dot and mark. So you can mark the first one, and by holding the Control key, mark the second one, and notice that the separator shows itself automatically. Okay, great. So I marked two numbers. So the result should be 46. And yeah, here it is. So this is basic VBA programming, and it's, well, this easy. Seriously, this is a very basic example of what you can do by writing your own function. The possibilities are basically endless, but of course you need to know how to program VBA. So that's it for creating your own functions. Now let's go over 10 functions you really should know. This is basically going over what we did, but still I want to leave you with the urge of and knowledge of the 10 most important functions for you. We will begin with the sum function, but first off, the function in this list are of the type that apply to a wide array of needs. You won't see a financial function or any advanced statistical function, just the basics. You know, the functions in this in here are essential to good Excel work. You can always refer here for a quick brush up on how to use these important functions. So first off, adding numbers is one of the most basic mathematical operation. And so there's the sum function dedicated to doing just that. Sum takes up to 255 arguments. Each argument can be a single number or a range containing multiple numbers. The sum the mean sum can add up a whole bunch of numbers. So using the sum, you probably know, but let's type in a few numbers. Let's grab them, drag and drop. So basically you can do the sum over here, and you can see that the answer would be 210. And by using the sum function, you mark this area, close it, and you have the result 210. You can also use the sum with more than one range. So let's use it this way. Just to show you how easy this is, let's mark this. Sorry, we have one error here. The keyboard change, of course. Yeah, sometimes happens. Let's mark from 1 to 10. Again, from 11 to 20. The result should be exactly the same. Yeah, great. With using different ranges, you can do stuff like that. You can also input actually some numbers here. So this is how the sum works. Next off, you have the average. Although technically a statistical function, average is used so often it deserves a place in the top 10 functions. Everyone is interested in averages. What's the average score? What's the average salary? What's the average height? What's the average number of hours we watch TV? So, average can take up to 255 arguments. Each argument can be a number or range that contains numbers. So, let's mark this as the sum function. Let's delete this one. Here we will use the average and equals average. Here we have it. Let's use an area of numbers again. Great, so the average is 10.5. Let's check if that's correct. Exactly, the average of score cells is 10.5. So the average works the same way. You can also mark separate areas, but let's go on. Count. The count function counts the number of cells in a range that contains numbers. It does not provide any sum, just the count. For a list with the 10 numbers, for example, count returns 10, regardless of what the numbers are. Count takes up to 255 arguments, which can be cell references, range references, or number themselves. Count ignores non-numeric values. If an argument to count is from A1 to A10, but only 2 cells contain a number, then count returns 2. So, we have basically 20 positions here, and you can see that count is shown over here. So let's type in just some alphabet letters. Let's see if Excel will catch up with me what I want here. No, it doesn't. Oh well, it doesn't matter. It can be right here, like that. So equals count. Great. Now the values. We can do the same thing as we did before. So let's mark this area and see the answer. Oh yes, we have one too many. Open. Great. So the count over here is 20 as it goes, but if we mark this area, count still returns 20 because these are letters, not numbers. Okay, let's go on. Next two functions I want you to know would be, let's also name this as count. Next off, we have the int and round functions. The int and round functions both work by removing or reducing a number's decimal point. They differ in exactly how they remove it. So, the int simply drops this decimal portion without rounding. That is, without regard to whether the number is closer to the next higher integer or the next lower integer. Be aware that int always translates to the next lower integer. For example, int changes 12.05 to 12, but it also changes 1295 to 12. Also, int changes both minus 5.01 to and minus 509 to minus 6, not to minus 5, because minus 6 is the next lower integer. That int takes but the single number argument. So how to input it? Let's type in int. Let's use some less round numbers, let's say. So 10.5, 11.1, and 12.2. No, 0.9 would be perfect. And let's say this is a minus 13, and this would be minus 14. But let's make this minus 14.1 and this one minus 13.9. Okay, these are some good examples for this function. So equals int. Okay. So we want to use one number here. Close. So the answer over here would be 10, but let's move this to 11. And you see the answer being 11. Next off you have 12. And the answer would be 12 because, as I said, it rounds them to the number being displayed, but not rounding them up. Okay, so 13, you have minus 14, and next off 14 minus 15. Great, as I said. So this is an integer function. Next off you have the round function. So on the other hand, the round function lets you control how the decimal portion is handled. Round takes two arguments, the number to be manipulated and the number of decimal places to round to. This gives you more control. A number such as 5.6284 can become 5.628, 5.63, 5.6, or just 6. Round always rounds up or down the nearest number or the next significant digit. So 5.628 becomes 5.63 or not 5.62. So just to show you how it works, let's type in round, type in equals round. Awesome. So first off, you have the number, and then you have the number of decimal places to round to. So this would be the number of digits. Let's use this one. Next up, let's say we are interested in 3 places. Close it. And let's add, let's say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is our number, but still, round should work. Yeah, now we have to refresh the function. So we are at 543. So see, we have only 3 places, and it works as a typical math function. So rounding always works up from the number 0.5 and down from under 0.5. So 0.49 will be actually 0 in rounding up. So let's move to the 5th number, and you can see it being moved to the 5th. And if we round it up in a different way, let's say we want to round it up to, we have 5 over here, and we round it up to the 1st place, we will have 10.6. Awesome. Let's move on. The if function. As I said, if is the most important function for me, at least in Excel. So basically, I won't be telling you the 15th time how it works. Just remember about the if function. It's that important, really. Okay. So next off, we have the now function and the today function. So the now function returns the current date and time according to your computer's internal clock. Today returns just the date. If the date or time is wrong, it can't help you with that. A common use of now is to return the date and time for a printed report. You know, so a message such as printed on I don't know, 4th of January 2014, 10:15 can be put on the printed paper. A common use of today is to calculate the elapsed time between a past date and today. For example, you may be tracking a project's duration. A cell on the worksheet has the start date. Another cell has a formula that subtracts that date from today. The answer is the number of days that have gone by. So by using the now function, you have the current date and time. And if you use the today function, you have the current date. Next off, you have the HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP. Both find a value in a table. A table is obviously a area of rows and columns. Both of these functions work by using a search value for the first argument that, when found in the table, helps return a different value. In particular, you use HLOOKUP to return a value in a row that is in the same column as the search value. You use VLOOKUP to return a value in a column that is the same row as the search value. So I won't be showing you exactly how they work because, well, we were basically out of time. I encourage you to check them out, and this will be also your task to search some of the data over here, and also remember that you are supposed to do these functions and show off your work later on. So next, let's type in the is number function, and what it is, a rose is a rose, and by any other name would smell as sweet, but numbers don't get off that easy. For example, 15 is a digit, but 15 is a word. So basically you have 15, and this would be a digit, but still but still 15. This is a word. The isNumber function tells you flat out, true or false, if the value in a cell is a number or not. So let's use this isNumber function and mark this area. Yeah, and it shows you simply if it's true or not. This is very useful when you're using more complicated functions just to evaluate the cell number. Next off, you have the min and the max functions. I talked a lot about these functions, but again, min function basically takes out the minimal value in the area, which is for minus 14.1, and the max value in the given area would be 20, probably. Yeah, 20. So next off, you have two last functions, the SUMIF and the COUNTIF. And again, SUMIF and COUNTIF respectively sum or count values if a supplied criteria is met. This makes for some robust calculations. With these functions, it's easy to return answers for a questions, such as how many shipments went out in October. If you remember, I've explained exactly what these functions do, so go over the lesson again if you need to, and also use these two functions. You can also go to the help. Once again, where to find it, you go to formulas, insert function, and help on this function by searching it out first. You will see the help window in a moment. Yeah, there we go, and Excel's connecting, and it shows you the exact way it works. Okay, so these are the most basic and most important functions for you to remember. I would enhance a few of them, which is the if function again. Obviously the sum function, but this is just the most used function. And basically all the math operators, average and count, and the if function. And by knowing these four functions, you actually have the basis. Sometimes min and max is also used most oftenly. Okay, great. And this basically sums up the function part of all of our lessons. In the next lesson, we have the summary of the entire course, in which I will be showing you how to create a professional chart with data, and we will be using some functions for that. So I will not be explaining all the functions there. This is why we did this video right here. Okay, great. So thank you very much, and this is it for lesson 14. And remember, as always, to save your work and send it out later on. And I hope to see you in lesson 15. Bye.